Hello guys, how's things? Market is dumping. So as you know, there is a news for Binance is acquiring FTX. Let me share it. Um, so almost like hour back, CJ tweeted that not hour back, like now it's more than 2 hours. CJ tweeted that FTX reached out for help and they signed an agreement with FTX, which is non-binding agreement that they will provide some liquidity crunch. They will cover some liquidity crunch and eventually will look to buy FTX. So a lot of people thinking that Binance actually acquired FTX. This is not true. Binance didn't acquire FTX till now, but it might acquire FTX because they have went into a non-binding agreement that they will because if you see that buying a company is not a very small process. There has to be a lot of due diligence to see what are the assets, what are the liabilities, and different things, and eventually come up with a decision at what price they are going to buy out. So it's very long process. But what happened with FTX, because they saw liquidity crunch and they did the wise thing, they reached out to Binance and they eventually did this deal. So at least users for a time being can think that they are safe, but that's not completely true, because Binance might find something while doing these while having these audits or due diligence, and may not acquire uh, FTX. As you can see that there is a lot to cover. This is highly dynamic situation. We are assessing the situation. Binance has discretion to pull out from the deal at any time. So they specifically, CJ said that they can pull out from the deal anytime if they want. But at the same time, he also said there is a high volatility in FTT price. If you see, FTT might be dropping like shit at this time. Let's check FTT's price. I'll log out from my account first. Cool. Let's check FTT's price. Wow. 57% drop. This is nightmarish. Wow. You see this dump? This is FTX sellout dump. This is let's say 15-minute chart. This is a dump. First, when the news broke, I guess it was pulled initially, then it just went down from the last. And you see that it's around trading around $9.5. And we don't know because what is the situation, because most probably if this deal will go through, Binance might kill FTT and maybe put it into BNB, or maybe kill FTX brand itself if needed, because there cannot have two competing brands if Binance has one. But it depends. Well, there's a lot of speculation, but at least for now, I think there, like Binance CJ has at least prevented another seen another collapse like Terra Luna, because FTX is not a small exchange. It is very big exchange. They raised a lot of money recently. If you see FTX funding, they raised a lot of money. Um, Crunchbase, FTX raised like six rounds. One second. So let's see FTX. FTX FTX did total funding is 1.8 billion. That's huge amount, a lot of money. And basically, what happened? Let me explain actually what happened. So Almada and FTX both are founded by Sam and his co-founders. Recently, what happened when Almada actually there was a speculation that Almada was using FTX fund, not FTX fund, but actual users fund to trade this on different exchanges and various places. Recently, there was a rumor that an Almada's uh, balance sheet was revealed by Coindex, and there was a lot of loss, and there was a lot of holding of FTT token, which was in loss, and there was couple of billions dollar of it's showing couple of $1 billion loss basically in Almada's holding. Now, when this rumor went out, and then also Binance CG announced that they will unload their FTT tokens, which is around $2.2 billion worth at that time when he announced. So basically, when he announced, then there was a more sell pressure, and this rumor went viral, and people are started withdrawing their money from FTX. And this is a sort of a bank run on the FTX exchange. No exchange can bear this much of pressure of a lot of people withdrawing assets from the exchange, because usually many exchanges actually deploy assets for various use cases, even though they say that they don't use customers funds, but many times they deploy these assets in various places. With the FTX was same, and I believe with FTX it was more deep, where Almada was using users funds to trade on different exchanges. When this news went viral, people started withdrawing. Then there was on-chain activity where you can see Almada was trying to sell some of the assets and try to solve this liquidity crunch, sending money to FTX. But this was a huge amount which FTX was not able to fulfill. There was a lot of money on FTX, people's money, customers' money, and they started withdrawing the millions and millions of dollar and other assets getting withdrawal. And FTX cannot fulfill all this demand, so maybe they reached out to Binance today itself, and they did this deal. So there is a normalcy in the market, because if FTX would have announced insolvency, it would be a very major damage to the whole industry, as well as it might be very problematic, because we somehow try to recover from a bear market, and we can see that these sort of events will keep pulling us into back into bear markets. Even the today's event, I see it a very negative point of view, because there are two reasons. One is because uh, now Binance has a lot of as a very big, it becomes too big to fail eventually. It has more than 50% of market share. It means a lot of money, people's money in Binance. Of course, Binance has shown in last 4 years that they are sort of secure, reliable, and very diligent. But as everything can fail, so that's one, that there is a lot of uh, not too much diversity for clients or customers to go on different exchanges. I added KuCoin and Bybit in the description, because today's event shows that putting your assets in one exchange is not a good thing. You should always diversify, always use multiple exchanges if you want to keep your money on exchanges. Okay, so that's one of the major problem I see, negativity from today's event. Second, I see that um, uh, how a exchange like FTX, who was so big, was so irresponsible for keeping users fund. At the same time, simple rumor or not rumor, it we don't know if Almada was doing it or not. In any case, we nobody can, even though like biggest bank of the world cannot sustain this size of bank run. So in crypto, a rumor or just one day is enough to liquidate somebody who has billions of dollars in assets. So that's also I see is like information asymmetry is very problematic, and this information, the action on the information is pretty fast. That if it is can happen with FTX, it can happen with anybody else. Yes, that's another. So one is diversity of exchanges, which going less, and Binance is become. And one more thing, that the Binance was a investor in FTX. So Binance invested in FTX long back, and FTX grew pretty fast in last 2 years, and today it was end of the FTX. There was a lot of tweets around FTX. There was a lot of applications, and people were tweeting about FTX and looking how much money was withdrawing from FTX exchange or um, Almada. So you see that this is one of the tweet by Look on Chain. They showed that there was one big user who withdraw millions of dollars. He withdrew like around $250 million from FTX in last 24 hours. As soon as FTX opens his withdrawal for stable coins, it was one person who was accumulating this much of money, and he started withdrawing. So it was a big whale. So you see, like people, there's one person only who can withdraw 250 million. You can see if people started withdrawing at the scale, what will happen. So yes, and markets are very impacted with this. You see, BTC price is pretty down. Currently, it went like it was a knife, went down pretty fast. Uh, let's see. See, it went down pretty fast in last 1 hour. From it was around 20,500. It went to around 18. It's currently trading around 18,800. There is a support, I guess, around 18,000. Yes, and in these situations, it's pretty. You don't know what happens because FTX situation is pretty fluid currently. Buying FTX assets, Binance acquiring, announcing FTX acquisition is not like complete acquisition. It's uh, just a KOL, which is like it's just a non-binding deal where they will start doing this FTX exchange process. At the same time, FTX US is a separate entity, and which is not impacted by this announcement. Uh, Sam actually tweeted about this. It is not impacted by this thing. As you can see, this is Sam's tweet. He told like FTX US and Binance US, two separate companies, are not currently impacted by this. FTX US withdrawals are and have been live and fully packed one to one and operating normally. Yes. And if you see the history of FTX, so he's like he was a very in a few days back. If you see, there are a lot of news around FTX. There are a lot of memes, and there are a lot of like he's like a 30-year-old billionaire and sort of those things. He just become a big influencer around crypto. So and everybody was praising few days back him, and then you see that recently what happened in just few days. And you know that FTX was very famous for his arbitrage trading. He made a lot of money in 2019 around this, and then he founded FTX in Almada. And Almada was a hedge fund or market maker, or basically a trading firm which used to invest at the same time trade, market make sort of different trading related activities. They also did a lot of investment in Soul, which was very successful. There were a lot of money made by this investment. He's at as claimed here. You can see its net worth was around more than 10 billion at the peak. FTX also invested in in Sui and Aptos. I created a article videos about those about Aptos recently. You can see that. And You see, like FTX bailed out BlockFi, and they also checked if they can buy Voyager or Celsius. So they actually bailed out BlockFi for $240 million, and they also bid for Voyager asset and Celsius also. Uh, and you can see that recently there was a lot of step down. For example, Mada CEO Sam, he stepped down recently on August, and before that, after that there was FTX president who stepped down. There was some legal issues basically regarding this, and there were people who were indicating that FTX might be in trouble because they were holding a lot of FTT tokens, and FTT price went down, and they have this hole that they are showing in balance sheet that they hold this much of FTT, but that FTT is actual illiquid basically. So let me explain this part basically. Where, so for example, Almada was holding a lot of FTT, which was around $3 to $4 billion, but actual FTT market cap was $3 billion, and total fully diluted market cap was $8 billion. So if current market uh, valuation of FTT is $3 billion, and if I am holding a $2 billion of FTT, I cannot sell it at the same market cap, because if I started selling those FTT, the market will go down and I won't get the same price if I am holding that much of amount. And that was a major problem which some people were trying to highlight recently, and uh, that I guess was the major cause where Almada went down, and Almada took down FTX basically. And recently FTS Sam also investing a lot of basically donating a lot of political uh, people to basically if Sam realized that he cannot defeat Binance directly, because Binance was at least 10 times bigger than FTX. There's only one way he can beat Binance: if he have help of regulations, where he can go to regulators and tell, sort of like, Binance, see Binance as a Chinese company, or involvement of China, even though CJ says there is no involvement, but he can like make a point that Binance is Chinese company, there is Chinese money, it is problematic for US customers, consumers, and maybe sort of have regulations bend his ways. So he was donating a lot of money to politics. I'm just speculating here, but that's what I am reading on basically on Twitter. It might not be true, but he was donating a lot of money to basically both Democrats and Republicans. And you see, like, he actually first told that he will donate more than $1 billion on 2022 US presidential election, but he basically backtracked on that. And you can see that there's a lot of and he also recently put out his regulatory thinking, what he thinks about regulation in crypto and sort of those things. He also sort of there is a bill which is DCCPA, which was a draft where he was able to he was in discussion with the other lawmakers in order to maybe having a discussion around that bill, to maybe have some amendments favorable to which might eventually help to FTX. Basically, there was a somebody put it on the GitHub to showcase to everybody. Next, you see that he have been Bitboy. Recently Bitboy has went after FTX because he's sort of saying that FTX is sort of selling out crypto and try to basically mm, lobby against crypto, or sort of ethos of crypto. And he was very sort of angry on Sam on his channel. This is pretty interesting. So where this issue, you should see this video where FTX, where Sam is actually talking with Eric Gore, who is also a big crypto influencer, has a company called SafeShift. and he was actually asking question where he asked if email is a protocol, and if email clients, people creating email clients like Gmail, need KYCs, then how it will impact the ecosystem. At the same time, what is the difference between email and email protocol and Aave? It's pretty good discussion, you should hear it. Let me run it.
Chief said did mean that like essentially a suit front end by targeting American retail had to be licensed. I think that could be reasonable.
Sam, if the question was let's acknowledge that the email protocol will be permissionless as a protocol.
Yep.
But it was the law of the land in America that every email front end provider required KYC from its users.
Yeah.
Because under the justification that we do not want people sending information back and forth with terrorists.
Yeah.
Where would you stand on that position?
Oh, I'd be strongly against that position.
Why?
Why would I be against it? Because I think it'd be like against freedom of speech. I think it'd be disenfranchising a lot of people. I think it would not trust in practice that it would do a good job. So I agree with you on all of that. Okay. I'm making a distinction here between, for instance, payments versus like derivatives contracts.
Why is Aave somehow different than email?
So, why is it different than email?
You argued so well and so passionately to not block email with licensing and KYC. I loved hearing that.
Yeah.
That filled my soul with joy. Such good arguments. Why does that not apply to financial transactions?
So, why does it not apply to financial transactions? I think there are a few things here. So,
yes, as you can see, he was not able to answer what is the difference between Aave and email protocol, and that's pretty good question which Eric asked about. It's very fundamental question where money is just a speech. Similarly, you cannot censor speech. Similarly, you cannot censor money. The idea was where Sam actually argued that all the people who are enabling front end for different protocols should have some sort of censorship. And Eric simply asked like, what is the difference between Aave and email? Email just open speech, and Aave is simply open money as a speech. So I mean, like, this was pretty good argument. This was pretty good diamond, like, basically. And the recent, this was a pretty bad. I think this single article took down the FTX, basically. This single thing, um, where if you see that Almada has 14.6 billion in assets as of 13 June, about private documents, and much of it was FTT tokens issued by FTX. And this was the most damaging news from CoinDesk, which actually started the rumor, and like that Almada doesn't, or FTX is basically insolvent because Almada was using his money to trade, and it doesn't have the complete balance sheet. And this actually is like just started. This was the beginning of the end. And in last 2 days, this was published on 3rd November. In 1 week, it's just went haywire, basically. You can see that this was one of the good thread. So as you can see, as per CoinDesk, Almada Research has 14.6 billion of assets against 8 billion of liabilities. So Almada has 14.6 billion in asset and 8 billion in liabilities. For asset, they showed 3.66 billion FTT for 2.6 billion FTT collateral. So these two data points are basically, they don't have this much, basically. I mean, like, this was not, you cannot call them as an asset, basically. And then 3.37 billion in crypto, in which 830.63 million was locked as well, and then 134 million USD in 2 billion equities and securities, which is basically, there is a lot of illiquid uh, assets. You cannot liquidate these assets. For example, you have locked SOL, you cannot liquidate it. You have securities, equities, basically you cannot liquidate it if you want money urgently. So this assets was too much these assets were illiquid, and you have 8 billion of liabilities. So if there is, and this liabilities comes from, I guess, from FTX. And uh, so they borrow capital from FTX, and this was user capital, and this initiated everything. You can see this. Other significant asset balance sheet is 3.2 billion crypto held, large amount of Solana, blockchain native, 292 million of unlocked SOL, and 863 million of locked SOL, 41 million of SOL collateral. Other tokens mentioned, and one more thing, that today some token complained that they saw a dump, which might be done by Almada. And Almada's CEO Caroline actually tweeted them, no, it was not them, somebody else did it, they will soon release the information. And this information didn't came, and only news came. So I guess this news is like mixed. Is overall is negative news, where it shows how exchanges can be very irresponsible, even though they have this amount of large assets of customers. And even though they are irresponsible, uh, um, and with the customers information, they are like very taught, like praised in terms of publicly by like having PRs and sort of those stuff. Second, it's now Binance is very big. I mean, like Binance did very good thing today, that it actually helped FTX to not go down like Celsius or BlockFi, and actually give the support, so market has more time to understand the situation. Otherwise, if FTX would have announced insolvency, you would have seen Bitcoin went less than 15,000. I'm pretty sure. But this news is also still pretty bad, because we don't know what is behind the curtains. A lot of details need to be pulled out from what type of assets FTX hold. Do they have even assets? Is there too big loss? Because even Binance want to acquire it. They won't want to cover too many losses, because now they know that FTX lost all their reputation. Even though they don't acquire it, it's Binance might need FTX users. It's win-win situation for Binance, where they will get FTX users, and they want it actually. But even though they don't get it, they already get a lot of funds today's withdrawal from FTX. At the same time, FTX was a number two, lost all the reputation, sort of those things. So uh, I mean, like it's not a very good news. But the one big news is like Sam was uh, pretty smart, and he swallowed his his pride, and actually asked for help from Binance, and Binance helped it. It's pretty good news. So yes, keep watch on the price of FTT, and actually also price of market, because market will see a lot of volatility in upcoming days as more information comes from this revelation. Hope you will have happy trading going forward. We are now master trader on Bybit. You can see here we have a link on the bottom. So you see we make profits on buy for our customers on Bybit. So you can join us, and let us manage your portfolio. We do a lot of less risk. Sometimes when people don't do proper settings, they get liquidated. For example, they don't follow our leverage, they add a lot of leverage. Usually see we have a good win rate. We have 63% win rate. We have very less drawdown. We don't have a lot of drawdown. If you see, the maximum drawdown was less than 6%. So we don't lose a lot of capital actually. So we do a very less risk free trading. So you can use a link in the description to actually join and follow on us on Bybit. Hopefully this helped you. Today's news helped you, and keep watch keep a watch on the market. It will be very volatile in upcoming days. Thank you. Bye.